Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, the Eastern Corridor route and the Bolga-Tanga-Boku route, if contractors are paid and not given razor cuts or renegotiations, they will be completed on time. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, you ended on a good note of a proverb. The Honorable ABF is saying, I won't pay royalties. When you see a frog come out of a deep hole, its assister is with it in the hole bringing it out. We will assist you out of the deep hole. But we appreciate this. I don't intend to provoke the debate. The fidelity and candidness of what Mr. President have done, how I wish he had arrived on a Takoradi Paga train as he promised in 1 factory, 1 district. On that notion, I second the motion for adjournment.
Honorable members, the motion for adjournment has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say no.
Mr. Speaker, we want to work.
Order. The ayes have it. This Honorable House stands adjourned till tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Thank you very much, honorable members. I know, Musa.
We're live from the Parliament House here in Accra, 3FM 92.7, Onia 95.1, TV3, Connect FM, Akoma FM in the Ashanti region as well. So the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has just rounded up his second State of the Nation address. Live pictures here from Parliament House which show that the President is in the chamber at this point. It's just signed the visitors register, flanked by the Vice President, of course, with the Chief Justice and the Speaker of Parliament, along with some very high-powered government dignitaries who are with him, and very tight security, I must say. But the State of the Nation address, as presented by the President, had lots and lots of segments that will be doing post-analysis shortly across all our platforms. And we're big on your comments, so you can join us on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and let's hear your comments, where your expectations exactly met in terms of the economy, in terms of agric, in terms of education, in terms of security, in terms of unemployment. We'll be having all the conversation here. And I see Vice President Ms. Arthur, who was also there with the President Mahama and ex-President Kufuor and ex-President Rawlings and his wife as well, Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings. So it's a full house at Parliament House today, the 8th of February. It will go down the annals of history as one of the very exciting days in the political history of this country, where the President has fulfilled a constitutional mandate to report the state of the nation to the citizenry through Parliament. And it's instructive to note that the President has also reiterated some of the key points as brought forward from his 2017 encounter with Parliament, the State of the Nation address. We will be asking the critical questions on your behalf as per what you were expecting the President to say and what the President has said, and whether or not that satisfies your quest to see this nation progress in many different ways. Live on all our platforms: TV3, First in News, Best in Entertainment, Onia FM 95.1, 3FM 92.7, and Connect FM in Takoradi and Akoma FM as well. I see the minority leader is just across the shots, and you can tell also felicitations going on there on the floor of Parliament, both the minority and the majority. And it's instructive also to note that yesterday, while the minority refused to participate in anything parliamentary here, even though they were present, they have been active in today's enterprise on the floor of Parliament, shaking hands with their colleagues and, if you like, cheering and cheering on as the President delivered the State of the Nation address here on your Media General platform, the most credible of them all. We'll bring you all the insights as we make progress today. We will have the post State of the Nation address analysis here, and I see lots and lots of guests joining us already. I see the Minister for Works and Water Resources, the Honourable Atachia, is joining us here. We're also being joined by a lot more political watchers and participants of our democracy. The president did mention instructively that the Fourth Republic turned 25. What, in your view, has been the high and low points? We would want to know from you. So, as always, 050-823-5228 or 0500 60 70 70. Those are our WhatsApp lines. We're also big on your tweets at News on TV3, and the hashtag is TV3 Ghana, News on TV3. So join us and share your thoughts and comments as we make progress. The lobby and the foyer is full, it's inundated with our guests out there, and we will be bringing you those conversations as we move on. The conversation, live coverage of our State of the Nation Address 2018. What were your expectations and where they met? The key things that you were looking for, the key things that we're looking out for, were they sought out by the president? If not, what exactly were you hoping to have heard from the president in terms of the economy, in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of sanitation? And in fact, yesterday the Minister for Sanitation had said, is reported to have said, that he was not appointed to be a baller man, to, if you will, go around the streets of Accra sweeping and collecting refuse out there. So I've been joined by three guests. Dr. Anthony Akoto-Osei is with me here. Lawyer Tachia is also with me here, and my own big man is with me here. Mr. Assignment Kwekwachiman is here. Good, welcome, gentlemen, and thank you very much. Can you take your microphones? We'll take a break at this point. When we return from the break, we will have a conversation with our gentlemen seated here and some more guests that will come through here on your platform, the Media General platform. Analysis of whatever the president said on the floor of Parliament. Take a break and I'll be back shortly.
Getting married this February, the month of love? This Valentine's season, 3FM 92.7 and Unia 95.1 FM in Accra with Connect 97.1 FM in Takoradi will give a romantic gift of an all-expense paid honeymoon to lucky couples. Simply share the story of your romantic journey for a chance to win this sweet honeymoon package. On 3FM, call in to share your story on the Urban Blend and Easy Stream shows. On Unia FM, phone in to share your story on Bissibi. And on Connect FM, call to share your story on The Late Drive. You can send your stories via email to the following respective addresses. Share your romantic story with us for a charming and all-expense paid honeymoon. We're doing it for love.
Sanitary pads now come in 3 unique varieties: heavy flow, normal flow, and mixed flow. Proper sanitary pad into one anyhow. Girl, play anyhow, sit anyhow, enjoy anyhow. The new 3D bubble cotton cloth absorbs better and keeps you protected and dry. Proper sanitary pads will definitely protect you.
Proper sanitary pad. I'm a Close-Up Deep Action Cool Breeze toothpaste with the action of antibacterial mouthwash formula. Now in our Close-Up Gel toothpaste. Close-Up Deep Action Cool Breeze. Enjoy up to 12 hours of long-lasting fresh breath.
No matter how hard you try, a regular straight brush just doesn't suit the shape of your mouth. Switch to the new Pepsodent Deep Clean. Unlike a regular brush, the Deep Clean is designed with a 3-curved neck and V bristles for better reach and deeper clean between teeth. New Pepsodent Deep Clean. Reaches better, cleans deeper. Find the new Pepsodent toothbrushes at a store near you.
Sasso, sasso, mi si come tonton precon. Sasso, sasso, mi si come tonton precon. Edana drami ne buseshe. Yeah, how can see any malaria? Minya me pone me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Tonton precon. Sasso, sasso, mi si come tonton precon. Tonton precon. Sasso, cum tonton precon. Nani sham ne die, demonstron.
Keep it moving with an ice-cold Coca-Cola only at 2 Ghana cedis. Recommended retail price. Now available in zero sugar.
Molfix quality now in new packs. Try new Molfix. You'll love it. Molfix diaper absorbs the liquid and keeps the skin dry. Thanks to its anatomic structure and flexible side bands, Molfix offers freedom of movement. Mothers love Molfix. Molfix. Happy today, happy tomorrow.
She picked the time. He picked the place. Now their eyes meet. They feel an undeniable attraction. But self-doubt stands between them. Can they break the barrier? With the freshness of antibacterial mouthwash formula with zinc in our best ever close-up toothpaste. Break the barrier. Move closer with confidence. Close-up deep action for 12 hours of fresh breath.
So this is live from the Parliament House here in Accra, the Media General's live coverage of the second State of the Nation address as presented by His Excellency President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It's just rounded up. I've got with me 4 guests. Honorable Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, who is the Minister for Health, Honorable Muta Adam Mwakilu, the Honorable Atachia, and Dr. Anthony Okutose. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you very much for your time. So let me start with you, Honorable Muta Mwakilu. Of course, you're on the other side. What was your own assessment of the President's State of the Nation address in relation to what he said last year? How do you compare this year's to last year? Please lend him on your microphone.
Thank you very much. Actually, it should be, I thought he would come and evaluate what he promised us last year, give a quantifiable figures, and then project policy initiative and what he will do be executing this year. But that, I didn't see it. No, I feel that he just came to praise his ministers. I think he mentioned your name, that NHIS, and then all that. Good work, and they are complaining.
Definitely.
Most of the health
the way
service.
you left it, you can't take 1 year to make it very, very perfect.
Please, the point
so
is,
we are in progress.
No.
And I think we have moved a lot.
I don't think
so. That's exactly what the President
I don't think so. Today, he said it in his state of, when meet the press.
Right.
Service providers came and said what the President has said, they are not feeling it.
But is it also not the fact that some debts have been paid in that direction, and which is a forward march?
All government, when President Mills came, there was a debt. He cleared it and continued. And it will continue. But when you make it as if everything has been settled and you have done so marvelously well, everybody should clap hands.
Is it not an achievement?
It is not something we call an achievement.
But what do you call that?
You see,
what would you call that?
You see, that is
what would you call that?
You see,
what would you call that?
I don't call it an achievement
of debts.
No.
What would you call that?
We pay National Health Insurance Levy. All other things being equal, there is what? A dedicated source of funds. So, and it is accrued. Generally, it's accrued. At the end of the month, after the deduction, payment is made. And as I indicated, when President Milton came to power, there were arrears. He came and continued to settle the arrears. MPP came, there were arrears. they continue to settle the
Are you saying that the president has done nothing?
No, I'm not saying.
And that will by far mirror what...
Understand my language. I said, when you make that payment, and you make it as if you have settled almost all the problems. That is why
nobody is saying so.
No,
nobody is saying so.
So he said, oh, they have settled it, and now people don't find it difficult to access. Okay, let me tell you, since November.
Yes, go on.
No, registration is a problem.
Yes.
Yes, you know, people cannot renew their registration.
Yes.
Is that an achievement? This shouldn't happen. Since November, people whose national health insurance expire and they want to renew have challenges.
That is not equally correct.
It's correct.
No,
because I've
across the country.
So what is the actual situation? Tell us.
The actual situation is like that we have run out of ribbons. It's a temporary challenge. It is not across the country. Some dotted districts are facing that challenge, and we are addressing it. But 2 days ago, we have downloaded ribbons across the country everywhere. I don't think this.
But Honourable Minister, that adversely affects the quality of health delivery, does it not?
Definitely yes. But let me tell you honestly, right? When you come into a period where health insurance was at the level that it was, and I told you earlier on, you cannot just use 12 months to correct everything that you have come to me that was so bad. Today, let him go down to La Polyclinic here. The medical superintendent will tell you, Minister, you haven't finished paying everything, but now at least every month we get some money.
So what is the forward march? Because the worries are there.
Health insurance has started working again better than when we came to meet it.
Is that the ideal situation?
We haven't got there yet. The ideal situation, we are not there yet.
When are we getting there with you as minister?
Very closely.
Can we have timelines? Do we have timelines?
Yes, we said last year that by middle of this year, we will have paid almost all the arrears and health insurance will be seen working the way it should work.
Let me come to you, Honorable Atacha. So the issue of water is come up strongly as well. There's also the recent demolition of the Kaiser area and the development of the tourism enclave. I don't know if it falls directly under your purview, but I didn't hear any bit about all of that. What do you say? Absolutely, there's water and sanitation.
What happened in the Kaiser was as a result of the orders of a court of competent jurisdiction that these structures have been pulled down for better and enhanced value development. So that's a valid exercise in trying to give Tema a facelift and also to give space to a lot of developments that we lack. But what the president said about my ministry is very simple, that we cannot have a credible arrangement to wipe out the housing deficit without a mortgage system. So we are on the verge of influencing a mortgage system that people can own houses in the long run. And that is a very, very powerful paradigm shift for this country.
Were you excited with the president's delivery today?
Oh, sure.
Were you excited? The fact that the minority seems to have questions, lots and lots of questions about things that were promised and yet have not been achieved. Were you excited?
You see, there is a difference between when the promise is made and the tenor of implementation. That's your confusion. The one we say today, we want to wipe out substantially the housing deficit. There's a time definition for that.
Have we started work in that direction?
Oh, we are plans are far afoot.
And how is that work impacting on the people who still do not have places to lay their heads? Of course, the amount of money young people spend on rent is unbearable.
Everybody who understands rolling out social affordable housing will realize that first of all, you need an investor. And because of how the envelope is so challenged, there's no way you get an investor and give him the money to build. So you should find an investor who can pre-finance the housing, the construction of housing.
Have we found that investor yet?
Several of them, and that is why we are on the verge of giving them instruments which is going to come on the back of the pension fund that, look, go ahead, roll the houses and you'll be paid. And that is how people will be encouraged to roll out the houses.
You have your bite on that. We've been joined also by Honorable Kesilato Forsing, but we'll go to Doc. Tomorrow, We understand that the president will be assessing all his ministers.
Monday.
But you are the evaluation and monitoring minister. What report have you given to the president, and what will be the basis for his evaluation?
The president is the appointing authority, so he has his own basis for assessing people. Yes, I have given him an assessment of work done sometime in October, but he's going to assess people on their own.
What have you told the president? You are monitoring, you are evaluating. What have you told the president?
Everything I've told
Atachia, for example, about Honorable Kweku.
I've not said anything to the president that Atachia doesn't know about. It was a cabinet meeting, and I did assessment for all of them.
Are we going to see a reshuffle? Because the public have been
the
crying
proper
for
person
it.
to ask is the president.
I'm asking you, as evaluation and monitoring minister.
My job is not to reshuffle. My job is to assist the ministers deliver the results.
But the president has said continuously that he is satisfied with everything that his ministers have done. Do you think that tomorrow's evaluation will change anything?
Monday is the when it will start.
Will it change anything?
We have to wait to see what the president does. I myself will be evaluated on Thursday.
So you have no information as to what the president may be asking?
Not at all.
As to the nature of the evaluation and the conversation that will go on? Not at all. Let me come to you, Honorable Keselato. Let's do an assessment of the president's delivery today compared to what he said last year. You have had challenges with how the economy has been managed in terms of some tax cuts, some reliefs that were put out there, and you say that there were some wrongs that were done. Do you see anything different being done in what the president said?
I think that the president's statement, as he made today, are not something new. I could see a rehash of the president's statement over the last couple of months. Some of them were more or less verbatim. When he met the press, recently he made statement on the procurement issue. He lifted them verbatim in the State of the Nation address. And I could see that he used the opportunity also to signal some confidence in some of his ministers, which to a large extent, yes, I commend him for that. But I think that it's unnecessary to come to a forum like this to come and praise your ministers, because whether they are doing well or not is for the people of this country to
evidence-based, as President Mohammed did.
Let me take you to the substantive issues. He talked about tax cut,
right?
That they have reduced some taxes. Yes, I recognize that some taxes has been reduced, but for me, the bottom line is the impact on the economy.
Right.
If you say that you are reducing taxes for those who are bringing in spare parts, and today these same spare part dealers are complaining of high taxes, then what have you achieved? The bottom line is zero, cost 90. If you talk about the fact that you are going to, in your manifesto promise, you talked about the fact that you are going to more or less reduce corporate income tax, only to turn around to extend the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy, which is more or less a tax on companies, by another 2 years. You have imposed taxes. It's a promise that has been broken. I thought he would have apologized to the people of this country and give us some reasons why he did that, because that is very important. It goes contrary to the social contract that he signed with the people of this country. And let me say that he talked about national health insurance, and I'm glad he's here. Right. The Minister for Health is here. That they are going to revamp the national health insurance under the President administration, under the able Minister, Honorable Adjumamenu. You can see that the amount of money that was supposed to go to national health insurance has been capped. In fact, national health insurance should have received 2.2 billion. In the budget, they gave them 1.8 billion. How are you going to solve the problem? Apart from that, you have decided to realign additional expenditure from the Ministry of Finance to the National Health Insurance. So you are taking approximately 800 million from Ghana cedis from the National Health Insurance. How are you going to fix it? These are my concerns. I thought that it's important that he will let the ordinary Ghanaian be aware of these concerns. And finally, there are issues relating to hardships. And Ghana, our major concern is hardship. The misery index is going up, continue going up. In spite of the fact that inflation is coming down.
There's free SHS.
The misery index is going up.
There's free SHS with
Look,
parents.
My brother,
I've given them some relief.
Go to the market. I thought he would have given us indication as to how he's going to reduce hardship. Hardship is increasing by the day. The ordinary Ghanaian is suffering. Our pockets are drying by the day. The hardship situation, he failed to address it. I think that it's important that in complying with Article 34 of the Constitution, he should have given us some roadmaps as to how he's going to reduce hardship to a level that is bearable. Ghanaians are complaining by the day. Yes, there may be free HSS, but what is the impact on the ordinary Ghanaian? The hardship is real, and we have to confront it.
What would be your assessment in percentage for the president over the past year?
I will not be
the one of figures.
I will not be the one to assess the president in terms of percentage.
But you're talking about flaws. You're talking about what he has not done and what he has promised and he has not done.
If I'm tempted to rate him, I would rate him in a negative manner.
For example,
because I'm not satisfied.
For example,
I'm not satisfied.
For example,
let me tell you that.
Be tempted.
In terms of whether I'm satisfied or not, I'm very, very not satisfied.
Put a figure to it.
I won't put a figure to it, but I'm not satisfied. And let us allow the ordinary Ghanaian to assess the president. I'm coming out with my statement, and I believe that is what it is. I mean, the coming days might not come out.
Dr. Okudjose has a rebuttal. Quick one.
I'm surprised that for somebody that has been in the Ministry of Finance, all he has to do is to compare the macroeconomic indicators when he was in power and when Nana Addo has been in power. The deficit,
right,
9.3. Nana Addo's first year, 5.6. Inflation, 18%. During Nana Addo, 12 point something. So I'm surprised.
The public said they are not feeling it.
Are you sure? Go and ask everybody who is getting free SHS.
Yesterday, Labour was out there agitating for cuts in fuel pricing.
Yes, the cuts in fuel prices since we came in, the world crude price of oil has gone from about $57 per barrel to about 60 something, 70. That is not the doing of the president. Growth rate, his time,
there are taxes that are being slapped on, and which COPEC says you must take off those taxes.
There were no new taxes slapped on. On the contrary, he reduced the VAT on petroleum. No new taxes have been slapped. We have not imposed any new taxes.
I can prove to you that you have imposed an indirect tax. In fact, under the capping law that was recently passed by Parliament, what the government has done is simple. In fact, under the road fund, the previous administration imposed a tax of certain pesos on each liter of fuel that you buy. What this government has done is to cap it. That money is not going to go into the road fund, but they're using it for the budget. So no, let me tell you, it's correct. It's correct. I have numbers. I have evidence according to your budget statement.
The road fund was capped, but it's been fully restored.
No, it hasn't been restored. You have taken 400 million out of the road fund.
When was it restored?
You have taken 400 million out of the road fund.
I've been at cabinet.
Yes,
I've been at cabinet. It's been fully restored. So that's not the tax. The question was, has NPP imposed any new tax? The answer is no.
Honorable Atacha, you've been very quiet on this one. Your constituents have also raised some questions, particularly about fuel and also about a bit of Galamsey as well. The president was very loud today on Galamsey and said we're making strides in that direction. Now you tell me, is it your opinion that we're going the right direction in the fight against Galamsey, given the fact that people have said we're going round in circles on that particular fight?
Well, we are indeed. You see, if you pay regard to the fact that what was staring at us in the face for the past 8 years, our water bodies being destroyed and even people dying in the pits, it's been reduced to a considerable minimum. And there is sanity in our systems now. We are now even trying to find ways to reclaim the land and also to sort of purify the water bodies. So it has been an 8 years of a mess. He's done incredibly well under 2 years to fix this problem.
Galamsey didn't start in the last 8 years.
I'm saying that it was amplified, if you like, and it was consolidated the past 8 years. We know that people have been doing illegal mining. The kind of violence to our water bodies took another 10 the past 8 years. The impunity of Galamsey the past 8 years was unbearable, to the extent that the president himself, that even Chebi is the Galamsey headquarters of Ghana. Did you hear that? Under his watch, he said so. So please, we shouldn't try to say that the fight is not good or we've not achieved much. I can assure you that it's been reduced to the barest minimum, and we're going to eliminate it. and give people an alternative means of livelihood. That's what we should look at.
Honorable, let me come to you now. Galamsey has a link to you have your bite, but Galamsey has a link to health, a very critical one indeed. If you turn on the taps now, the quality of water we drink and the impact it has on our health is very dire. What role are you playing in it? Because the Triangle Ministries that came together didn't include you.
That is correct. But indirectly, we are working together with them. Now, it is true. What the government is doing, apparently, is not stopping this small-scale mining, or what we call Galamsey, 100% in the medium-long term. We are trying to bring in guidelines to protect our water bodies. There is no resource that is being, extracted from anywhere without guidelines. There was wanting, destruction of our water bodies and the resources that we have. So what we are saying is that don't get closer to water bodies, don't destroy the systems. The impact on health is so phenomenal. So let us regulate. Let us make sure that guidelines that we have are complied with. This is all the government is doing. And I feel at the appropriate time you will hear what new steps government is taking. So we are protecting water bodies. They cannot be replaced. Unlike timber, for example, you can plant trees. So when you are harvesting timber, they still give you guidelines through which you can harvest. And when you do that efficiently, right, the destruction
we'll go back to the finance issues. But let me finally ask you about the Legon Hospital. It's come under the telescope for a long time.
Yes.
People say that there's a necessary tussle that's ongoing. What do you say about it? What's the state of that particular facility?
I wouldn't be able to get through into the Legon matter. We are engaging with the university itself, and I believe soon.
What is the level of engagement? Where have we got into?
We have moved. There are committees that have been set. We are looking at claims that each side is making, and when they complete their work, around 12 February going, you will hear a statement.
By 12 February?
Yes, that is when the first committee is supposed to submit its report. Beyond that, it will take long. You will see.
You also reported to have spoken about the rise of abortions. The rise of abortions.
I haven't spoken about abortions.
You haven't spoken about it, yes. Not at all.
Not at all.
So the Daily Heritage quoted you wrongly.
I think so. Which medium was that? At what function?
But then it was on the newspapers. In the newspapers that you had spoken about abortions.
Not yet.
But has it come to your attention?
No, please.
Not at all.
At all.
Never ever.
At all.
Honorable Dakilu, take a bite quickly on the finance issue, and then Atifosin will give us the detail he has.
We all agree illegal mining is a problem. Or Galamsey is the problem for the nation. But the method that is being adopted still is not yielding any significant results. Why? As at the last sitting, when we invited the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources to give him one Galamsey site, he has been able to shut down. He couldn't. Just last week, Ghana Water Company issued a statement that most of the water bodies are still polluted. So they can still, the turbidity level is still very high. And I said they are very, very difficult to break. This is a government that is fighting Galamsey. But the institution, which is Mineral Commission, that has to put the stretchers in place to fight it. You cap their internally generated fund. The money that should go to them to be able to put these stretchers in place is being capped. So out of the money, internal generated funds that they raise, only 66% is retained. 34% goes back to government. So how do you achieve significant results? Two, in terms of the petroleum price, we have this special petroleum tax that was introduced in 2015. And it was as a result of the fact that the benchmark price, as quoted in the budget, was $97 per barrel. And in the course of 2015, price of petroleum, international oil price, dropped drastically, and therefore creating a deficit. And therefore the former Minister of Finance came with the special petroleum tax to fill in the gap. As we speak today, the 2018 budget, the benchmark price is $57 per barrel. Today, the oil price is above 60. So in reality, we are having surplus. So there's no any deficit to fill in. And in terms of the revenue. No, we are not talking of import. This is budget.
Please let him.
This arises as a result of deficit in the budget. We have to be very clear with this. The budget came in 2015.
But the budget includes imports also.
No, but the special petroleum stars were limited to the budget.
Look at the revenue and the expenditure side. No. On the revenue side, you think there's a surplus. No. And on the expenditure side, there's a deficit.
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
A budget consists of both.
Let me. Every year. No.
So I'm saying we've been joined by the Honorable Fifi Kwete, but Ato has some detail where I'm interested in.
Galamsey, the committee is being supported by additional funds from the Ministry of Finance. So the Minerals Commission doesn't have the problem. Money has been channeled in there. As a member of the committee, I can tell you that much more money has gone there than would have been under the cap.
Meanwhile, Mineral Commission do not have officers in most of the districts. They must have. It's true. We met Mineral Commission. And
then, Chief,
we are here. They are here to submit a memo to us, and we'll present it to the Minister of Finance.
What happened to?
They don't have the structures
what
in
happened to
place.
the 9 supervisors who were sent off? Have they been replaced yet? The 9 supervisors, district supervisors who were sent off in the wake of the Galamsey fight, have they been replaced yet?
I'm not sure of the latest.
Okay,
of them.
so that's what he's mentioning.
No, but
sure.
I'm saying that every district has been, the committee has been inaugurated, including Mineral Commission members all over. They have just been recently inaugurated by the committee, so they are all there.
They are all there working.
Yes.
Ato, let's see the detail quickly, and we'll come to Honorable Fifi Kwete. You're making reference to the document.
Yes, I was talking about
the budget.
indirect taxes that has been imposed, apart from the special import taxes that the ranking member for energy is talking about that it should be removed. Let me put on record that according to the budget statement that was presented by the finance minister on the authority of the president, the road fund, the government has imposed an indirect tax of 526 million Ghana cedis on the road fund. So my argument is that if indeed you don't need the 526 million Ghana cedis to support the potholes and road maintenance, of which me and you, we are paying that as a result of the fuel price, the fuel that we buy. I think that the government should rather remove that and give that as a rebate to the ordinary Ghanaian. Because clearly, the government has shown that they don't need that money. 526 million Ghana cedis. It was supposed to go to the road fund for the purposes of fixing the roads, of which you are paying for and I'm also paying for. Because every liter of petrol that you buy, there is a percentage that is accrued on it. Today, we've been told, yes, you haven't. No, it hasn't been restored according to the budget statement. Look, according to...
He says according to a cabinet meeting,
I am making reference to a budget statement. 2018 financial year.
So Dr. Akuto said,
what are we talking about?
If this was in a cabinet meeting,
economic policy, which one should we believe it? This is the budget statement.
Can you give him a microphone?
So please, they should restore they should remove the 526
Can you give him a microphone
and give the rebate to the ordinary Ghanaian.
The matter is that the law allows the minister, if he finds it necessary, to restore, and this has been done subsequently.
Why has no announcement been made to that effect if indeed it's been restored? That's the question.
I cannot answer that, but I can assess.
So how long ago was this decision taken?
This is about the last 2 cabinets.
So it's been a long time.
Yes.
Why hasn't the announcement been made?
I don't know why. I cannot explain why.
Fifi, let me welcome you and thank you very much for joining us. The president was on the floor of the House. You listened to him. And let me pick your initial thoughts about the president's delivery today.
I think generally he did what normally is done, State of the Nation address, which is to try to highlight on what he considers to be achievements, and on issues that clearly he did not have solutions for. He tried to go again on the campaign trail and in order to make promises. So I think generally that's really what it is. Significantly, you'll notice that this is a second State of the Nation address. The first State of the Nation address is understood that he has not got a project that he can mention, but it's shocking that in the second State of the Nation address, the president still hasn't got any real project that he could still mention. To mention, for example, a school project, a hospital project, a major road project, infrastructure project. Hardly do they get.
He mentioned free SHS. For example.
You know, I mean, to set into motion programs are easy. what matters is not so much the beginning of a program, but the sustainability of program, and to making sure that those programs are done in a manner that quality does not
You're
suffer.
one of the people who have questioned where funding will come from for some of those projects.
Absolutely.
Do you still hold the view
Very
that the
much
money isn't
so.
there,
Very much so.
even when the president said the money is there?
Very much so. I mean, if you follow the debates during the budget very carefully, you'll notice that when, for example, the scholarship secretariats came to meet the finance committee, they were emphatic to us that even money to complete even the first year, they were in deficit. In the second year, they were running short of at least, I mean, if we had a projection of, let's say, about, from the figures that we had at the finance committee, anything in the region of about 400 million was still in shortfall in terms of where they are going to find it from. And you should understand that we are even talking about just the beginning now. The comprehensive one has not yet been done. And the effect all this is having on the amount of money that should be available for infrastructure within all our education is a problem. But beyond all that,
What are they doing wrong? What are they doing wrong? Tell me quickly.
No, I mean, I don't really feel that this debate should be limited necessarily to just free SHS. But if you ask me, what I will tell you is that in politics, when you overpromise, you are found out when it comes to delivery. And I think that's what is happening to our friends in the FDP.
Let me go to Honorable Sylvester Mensah, who is joining me. He's a former boss of the NHIS. Now, there are issues with the NHIS. I'm sure they have come to your attention. And the argument is that you left behind a huge debt, which is now being cleared, which perhaps is giving hiccups. And I'm happy the health minister is here. What are your immediate reactions to these concerns?
Well, let me start by saying that we need to look at both the form and content of His Excellency the President's delivery.
Right.
With regards to the form, I guess, as usual, he delivered eloquently. I'm a little worried about the content of the delivery.
Okay.
I want to start by saying that it appeared he was still in a campaign mood. That is number one. And number two, he was very uncharitable. There were projects.
How so?
There were projects that began before he became president, that he inherited. One would have expected that he would grant some credit to the previous regime. For instance, the Marine Drive was a work in progress.
Right.
The issue of the Ivory Coast boundary dispute was something that the previous regime had begun and carried to close to the tail end of. Besides, the former Attorney General was key in the team that eventually led to the final resolution.
But my question is in relation to NHIS.
I'll come to that.
We don't have a lot of time.
I know that.
Alima Mahama has to run
and
out.
Then then the issue of energy. To say that Dumsor is something that was resolved under this regime.
Let's talk about the NHIS.
Quite difficult
the
to
strong
swallow.
allegation is that
now the
you
issue
left
of the
behind
NHIS,
a huge debt, which is now being settled, which is why there are hiccups in the delivery of that service to Ghanaians.
Thank you
what
very
do you
much.
say to that?
I think that the challenge of the National Health Insurance Scheme has to do with government not taking responsibility for the scheme. It is the president's responsibility. It is the responsibility of the Minister of Finance to fund the health insurance scheme. The issue of funding is not the responsibility of the Minister for Health. Neither is it the responsibility of management or the chief executive of the health insurance scheme. What is happening now is that
why not that of the boss of NHIS?
Excuse me.
I'm curious. I want to know. Why is it not the responsibility of the boss at the NHIS?
The boss of the NHIA does not allocate resources to the NHIA. He receives resources from government.
That's correct.
If resources are inadequate, there's very little the boss of the NHIA can do.
Right.
Besides, policy decisions that the chief executive can take are one, to, as it were, reduce the benefit package, or, as it were, rationalize the benefit package. In health insurance management, you first look at what resources you have as a basis for determining what you want to buy.
Right.
The health insurance policy we inherited determined what we wanted to buy as against what resources we had. And so we are now faced with the reality of high and increasing patronage, of high numbers of people using the health insurance scheme for accessing healthcare and not having enough resources to pay for the health services.
Did you leave the NHIS in good shape?
And so if you clear the debts of health insurance without putting in place a mechanism to ensure that these debts do not recur, then I'm afraid we are only paying lip
we were
service.
always under the impression that the health insurance was in the best of shape in terms of structure and administration. What went wrong? Did you live in a good shape?
The health insurance is still in the best shape as far as structure, strategy, and systems. The difficulty with the scheme is that of funding. And that funding is the direct responsibility of His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo and his finance minister.
Honorable, respond to this quickly.
The responsibility of funding and the added responsibility of clearing the arrears that was left behind us. Right? Which was okay because no, there's a report he himself will allude to that monies that were being collected to fund NHIS was not being released by the finance minister. For nearly 8 months,
so that's what
the monies that have been
to.
collected were not coming to the fund. Presently, that situation is not there. But because of the arrears situation, we are even currently, in some instances, even accumulating because of the funding situation. We haven't changed so much. We have been concentrating on how people with registration cards can have access to the facilities because the pharmacists were threatening withdrawal of services. The facilities were threatening withdrawal of services. So our attention and our focus have been said that we will give them some money, said that people can continue to access.
At this point,
we are doing a lot of things. He did some technical review report. We have even called him. We have looked at it. There are things that we send into cabinet to try to do some restructuring and things like that. But the president is committed to fund. And we are on course.
At this point,
we are looking at all resources
since last October that we can put in. Last October or November, it's been difficult to renew your NHIS card. Now that
is not correct.
That's a big.
I told you that is a political talk. That is not correct.
Let me help you.
We are renewing and we are doing certain things in there.
There has been a bipartisan approach to dealing with the challenges of health insurance. If there is ever a government policy that enjoys bipartisan support and approach, is the National Health Insurance Scheme. We don't do politics with it.
Of course, we don't do politics.
We don't do politics.
Let's go to Ajia Halima Mahama, who's Minister in charge of local government. Ajia, welcome. And away from health, let's get into local government. So there's been a lot of talk, and the president gave you a lot of props in respect to decentralization and the creation of the new districts and election of MMDCs. How far have we gone in that direction? Because the public is anxiously waiting.
Yes, the president gave direct instructions at cabinet that the direction for the appointment of MMDCs is over. Oh, you are leaving.
Right, Ajia. Ajia, you're still on air, so.
Now the president has given the direction that he's no longer going to appoint MMDCs, and we think that the country too we've been with this decentralization program for the last 30 years. It's about time that we'll look at other issues like appointment of DCEs. And the president has stated that, it was in our manifesto, he stated that clearly. MMDCs, that's Metropolitan Municipal District Chief Executives, will be elected on a partisan basis. On a partisan basis. And that requires some amendment to the constitution, a change in the constitution, because there is a clause in the constitution on the people representation that local government elections should not be partisan.
55
should not be should not be Article 55.
Article 55, that's it.
So should not be partisan. That would then mean that we have to go to a referendum because it's an entrenched clause.
Why do we want to do it on a partisan basis? Would it not polarize the country and make it a north and south situation as it's always been with NDC and MPP?
Our MPs are elected. The president is elected. So why not the local government assembly? And you and I know that we've been talking about it not being partisan, but people know who they vote for. When they go to vote, they will, even for the assembly member, the various parties align to the candidate who belongs to their party.
Let's talk quickly about decentralization, which the president mentioned also. And in talking about that, I want to talk about award of contracts, for example, for your local assemblies. The issue of sanitation is big and is high on the president's agenda. But you find that in giving off sanitation contracts, for example, for the collection of refuse, is done at the top. So those are the sub-metros just have to implement what has already been agreed at the top. It doesn't give them so much power to crack the whip. what's the plan moving forward to want to shift the paradigm so we can have a working plan down there?
The assemblies do have contracts with service providers. Most of the service providers that you say door-to-door collection of service, the assemblies have the contracts with them. Especially the metropolitan municipal assemblies. And even in terms of treatment, they have contracts with them.
Right.
But when we come to places like Accra, in terms of disposal, government has to support the assemblies in that regard. Ensure that even when the trash, the rubbish is collected, it's deposited somewhere. And there must be a landfill or an engineered landfill or an area, place that will accept a receptacle for the rubbish and treat it in a way that is acceptable to all. The assembly has not yet reached that stage. So, for example,
when are we reaching there? The last time I heard Mr. Kofi speak, he was talking about landfill sites in 2017, and I thought, well, why would we be talking about landfill sites in 2017? I was worried.
Yes, because we are still at the landfill site. These days, there are a lot of recycling and reuse machinery for recycling and reuse program. We get a lot of people coming to talk to us about it, but it's not yet on the ground. But we are working towards that.
Do we have timelines?
Yes, we are working towards that, and I know the minister.
Do we have timelines?
The Minister of Sanitation is very much on top of this. But he's developed an action plan for sanitation. Of course, we are consulted.
You have seen it. What are the timelines?
We have been consulted. Yeah, now critically we have to get the rubbish off the streets. So the key thing is now, let's remove the dam sites, the heaps of rubbish
Accra
all over,
alone, you have,
all over around.
within the AMA alone, you have about 15 service providers, from J-Star, Lewusu to Asadu to all of them. And yet we still have a backlog of 500 tons of refuse, which is not collected daily. That's a big problem.
It also has to do with, with enforcement. In some communities where the rubbish is well collected, you cannot just dump. You cannot just dump rubbish anywhere. That's why I've been talking, when I talk to journalists, I say that the kind of promotion that we give to days like Valentine's Day will soon come. You see a lot of promotional activities about it. Let's do that promotion for the individuals, for people.
Let me assure you, that I do a lot of.
It has to also do with attitude.
Let me assure you that
just dumping rubbish.
Let me assure you that I do a lot on sanitation. In fact, TV3 FM does.
Thank you.
Let me give you a scenario at Kaneshie Market.
Okay.
So Kaneshie Market is always inundated with filth. Yeah. And that's because within Awudome, Kaneshie, Bubuashi, there is no sanitary site. And that's a fact. So, in fact,
you cannot put sanitaries. It's not everywhere that
beautiful. So,
in the fact that, but there are some transfer stations.
Beautiful.
That if all of them would go carry the rubbish to the transfer station. Let me finish my question, Ajam.
So, Kaneshie is a central point. There are no sanitary sites in about 3 or 4 communities, and they have J. Stanley Owusu, Zoom Lion doing the collection. Yeah. Sometimes for 2 weeks, the refuse is not collected. I'm sure Fifi and Sly would may bear me witness about that. So the people are forced to use the itinerant rubbish collected to bring the rubbish to Kaneshie, which is originally supposed to be just for the market women. So all these 3 communities bring their refuse there, and that's why Kaneshie's problem goes on and on and on. What is the solution? We can give it as much publicity as we can.
The Minister for Sanitation has talked a lot about sanitation. The solution is putting in more transfer sites in the system. Right. So they are thinking about developing different transfer sites in the greater Accra area, so that people will, service collectors will have a place to deposit. And then enforcement, like those motor kings that are carrying the rubbish, we'll give them defined rules, so that they should not, for example, be on motorway littering all the way to Pong.
Okay.
So there should be some kind of level of enforcement.
I don't know if you're interested in this particular issue. Yes, Sly would. Fiji has been silent for a long time.
Sanitation issue, like I indicated, the key program that the minister is doing now is developing a sanitation action plan. And he has done that. Today, even as I'm speaking, they are having final discussion on it with the senior minister. And the key things we are looking at is clearing the heaps, getting more disposal sites, looking at treatment of the disposal plants, getting equipment, and in fact, supporting even the private sector, the service. We recognize that it's an issue we have to support with equipment, and also look at the new kind of technology. But I know that the districts too are registering households.
Okay.
So that every household will be connected to some kind of to a service provider, so that the rubbish is collected.
It's the promptness. It's the promptness. That's the problem.
It's work in progress.
It's the promptness. When you gather your refuse and nobody collects it and the stench gets back into your house.
No, that's why I say I recognize that equipment is an issue. So to some extent, the private sector too will have to be supported. Districts like big districts like metropolitans like AMA, they do provide backup. So they are also looking for equipment, and the whole plan is to ensure that some kind of equipment is provided.
Are we planning
and
on
then
having?
We look forward to possibly recycling and reuse. As I'm talking, Adenta, together with Madina, Lankwantana, and
that's
Lankwantana and Share Osodoko, they have acquired their own transfer site,
right?
And they are even working towards sorting out the rubbish, sending the agricultural produce to Major, and then also looking at possibility of sending the plastics to other agencies have established recycling plants.
Okay.
So it's work in progress, and I think within the next 2 years you will see some.
So
changes.
next 2 years, I'll hold you to strict proof.
But no, you hold the minister for sanitation. You hold the minister for sanitation. But let me complete on the MMDC ones.
Right.
The plan is, like the president indicated, we are working towards the processes, the stakeholders discussions, and then get with the EC for the referendum activities to start. But we want to have the referendum at the same time as the elections of election of assembly members. 2019, there will be elections of assembly members. So there will be another ballot box.
Okay.
You vote for your assembly person, then you come to vote on the referendum whether the election of MMDC should be participated.
Monday, the president will be assessing you.
Monday?
Yes, the president will start assessing ministers from Monday.
I'm not aware that he's assessing.
You are not aware?
No.
You don't know what questions he will be asking. Nobody has told you that the president will be assessing his ministers.
The president assesses all the time. It's
no,
not
this
only,
will be a one-on-one conversation.
It's not only, he assesses us one-on-one. We go to him on issues.
Honorable Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei just confirmed that it will happen on Monday.
He's the minister for monitoring and evaluation, so he may have more information.
Do you see a reshuffle happening?
Do I see a reshuffle happening? I haven't heard about any reshuffle.
I thank you very much,
and I don't see a reshuffle happening.
I thank you, Aji.
My prophecy is that I don't see any reshuffle happening.
I thank you, Aji Alima Mama. Let's go to you, Slina. You wanted a bite on this quickly, and then we'll wrap up with Fifi Kweti on this.
Yeah, I think that we have continued. We have continued to pay lip service to sanitation.
Right.
And unfortunately, in His Excellency the President's delivery, there was no clear policy direction with regards to addressing the challenge of sanitation. We have two ends to the sanitation challenge. The generation of sanitation, or refuse for that matter, and to the clearance. Now, what is the policy? We always talk about how to clear refuse, talk about cleaning, collecting refuse and cleaning. Other countries have gone through this. Countries have even gone to the extent of banning plastic substances. We are aware how plastic and rubber account for a significant
Your
percentage.
government had a chance to ban plastics following the June 3 disaster. The conversation started.
We are out of government now. Perhaps that is why we lost. We are looking into the future, and we are looking at how to address the challenges into the future.
We're wrapping up the conversation. I'm being joined by my colleagues Winston Amwa and Brighter Sempa.
Thank you. Countries have introduced policies that have reduced the generation of waste, not only intensifying clearance, but also reducing the generation of waste. There was no such policy.
That was what the president said, that waste generation and management will be on his front burner. Do you think that these are realities that...
there's no clarity in that. It's not detailed enough. It doesn't give any direction. It doesn't provide us with any understanding of how government intends...
It says in 4 years, Accra will be the cleanest city.
That's an ideal situation. We must know the how, not what we want to achieve. We are also interested in how we intend to achieve it. And I guess that was missing.
I think we have only 2 minutes to go, so Fifi perhaps may have a bite quickly and then we can go. But I've been joined by Winston Amwa, my colleague, and Brighter Sempa. We'll wrap up this together. Fifi, take a bite on this.
Yeah, let me just say that for me, the essence of all this conversation has to do with the need for the president and his team to start understanding that there is the nominal things you say and then the real thing. And it's almost like the difference between making promises and facing the reality.
Right.
Now, so when you make, for example, a promise that when you come to office, you are able to make the cost of living lower. At the same time, you are able to raise revenues and grow your economy and provide job opportunities. You already, ab initio, set yourself up for failure. Because the reality is you cannot do the two together. That's why the state of the nation that he presented today is drastically different from the real state of the people. I don't know whether TV3 you have done it, because I know some of your sister outfits have done it, and you have a real conversation with the ordinary people on the ground. The reality is totally different from the numbers and the headline thing that are being said by the president and his team. Now, so he's calling his ministers excellent ministers, but the people who are feeling the conditions on the ground, if you ask them, they'll be telling you about mediocre ministers. Because if you go, for example, to Abosi Okan today, last year they were jubilating. This year is what you call lamentation, what you call weeping and gnashing of teeth. Because the reality has dawned on them that what was promised to them and what the reality is today is totally different. You talk to young people who were promised jobs, and they will tell you today, 1 year on, that listen, they absolutely have realized that a lot of talk has happened, but the reality is totally different.
Inflation has reduced GDP.
Numbers you can throw about. But the reality is what the people face on a day-to-day basis. We have achieved a lot of numbers in the past. In fact, the numbers we have achieved in the past, these people might take maybe 1 million years to reach them.
Are you not being too hard on the president?
I don't think in their whole 8 years they will be able to have 14% growth that we have. I don't think they can achieve it. I don't think.
Why don't you think they can achieve it?
Because it's not an easy thing to achieve. You need to have absolute capacity to make it happen.
They don't have the capacity.
Don't forget
they
that
have the man.
Don't forget that in our history, no other government has been able to achieve it. We did. That tells you something really unprecedented.
Right.
But in spite of that, the reality on the ground is a whole different ball game. And that reality is what is going to judge the performance of the MPP.
I thank you, Mr. Fifi Kweti and Sylvester Mensah. I thank you also. But I've been joined by Bright Asempa and Winston Amoah. This has been a live coverage here from the Parliament House here in Accra. Thank you very much for listening. Winston, let's closing thoughts. You wanted to ask Fifi a question?
Say something so Honorable Fifi Kweti would understand that when you start the production of oil and oil production is added to your economy, it automatically shoots up because that's the first time you're producing oil. What would happen is that because it's the first time, it would have a high growth. The following year, that's how come the following year we did not achieve 14.4, or we went as low as 7.3. It only goes to show you that now there is oil. So the growth you make by oil would not be as much as you made in the first year. Well, but let me say that it's been great. I heard you speak with Haji Alimatu Mahama. My verdict is that we practice a central government supply-driven decentralization. We're joking.
I think Asempa.
Right, Tony M's largely that's been a very interesting conversation. But the Bekan is a team for Mutie, any or more share TV3. I'm going to tune in a fee or China Equa Monday Deco or Mampenia Casa, Ghana for Super Casa. And
that's how the cookie crumbles here from Parliament House, the immediate general live coverage of the second State of the Nation address as presented by President Nana Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. We'll bring you the analysis as usual as the day go by. News 360 will do an intensive detailing of block by block what has happened. And we've also been live on Connect FM in Takoradi Paipano, on Akuma FM in the Ashanti region in Kumasi, on Onia FM 95.1, on 3 FM 92.7. Thank you very much for listening. And for those of you who sent your WhatsApp messages and your tweets and your messages on Facebook, we thank you very much for the active participation. We're big on your comments. Your sentiments have been noted, and we'll wrap them up in the conversation. On behalf of all the team, Sadam Ofori, Babina, Finn Walker, and the rest of the team working here, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, so thank you, Johnny Hughes, there in Parliament with the rest of the team. Nanekia Mensah Brampa is here, and we talked about social media, and we're going to run through some of your comments, and then we'll just take highlights of what the president said and a few others.
Right, grateful to be here, Alfred. When you need technology most, that is when he decides to stay back. But finally, we were able to get messages. You could see that people were following us on TV3 Ghana, our Facebook page, from the beginning of our broadcast from 6 a.m. till as we're speaking. So more of the comments coming in. And quickly, let me look at comments coming in from our Facebook page. That is, well, some people are having their own banter there when it comes to the Facebook comments. But there are some few ones I just saw here. Well, they were expecting the minority to, well, heckle the president more when he was in having his presentation. They're talking about the State of the Nation address. But because the messages keep uploading, well, we also have some more on our Twitter pages. And some of the messages, I'm sure you would want to stream your messages quite well so that we can read it to the rest of the world. Well, Alfred.
Yeah, what I see is a lot more people getting at each other.
More people
hitting
at each other. But basically, we had, well, some 373 comments there coming in from our live telecast. And, well, this is how low people are. I'm sure some people are angry with how the messages are coming in, talking about educational systems failing us because some of the messages coming in are not too good for TV as well as radio. But
absolutely,
it's been quite a day for us here.
True.
On the platforms, TV3, Radio, 3FM, Onua FM, Connecting and Akoma FM. But Alfred, I would want to just quickly go to the other
through the highlights
screen, to see if we would get some comments there. Well, we have the president making some quotes when it comes to the State of the Nation address, and the first one he made was the finance minister. The finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has proven to be a national asset. That was the first quote from the president there in today's State of the Nation address. And also, we are creating an atmosphere ready for the creation of jobs. That one too was another quote from the president. And more, government has established the Nation Builders Corps to employ 100,000 young persons in 2018 alone to assist in public sector service delivery in health, education, agriculture, sanitation, and the Revenue Collection Department of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Some more still, I must make mention of the work being done to restore the Accra-Tema motorway to its iconic status. So, well, and I would like to remind you also of our theme here at Media General. It is about accountability, and that is what we are looking at. So in our subsequent bulletins, we will be looking at really, has the president accounted for that State of the Nation when it comes to 1 year on in his presidency? Some more quotes. We are determined to bring our road network to befitting status, and this year we shall witness much more activity on the road. So there's more, I'm sure, in subsequent bulletins talking about News 360 as well as our other updates. Alfred will be giving them more. Speaking to experts, we've heard from the political sides, we've heard from some economic sides, but what will the experts say? What will some Ghanaians also say? Talking about market centers, Aboso kind workers, what are we hearing? We'll be hearing more of your comments later in subsequent bulletins. But for me here, I'm done.
Yes, for us here, we're absolutely done. I want to say thank you to you out there who interacted with us on social media, various social media platforms. We're trending on hashtag news on TV3 and hashtag Sona 2018. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the rest of the team here at the Subway, we also complimented what's happening in Parliament, Brenda, and so Eddie Kwabi and the rest of the team. My name is Alfred Okanse.
And I am Nanikia Mensah Brampa. There's more on TV3. Stay with us and have a good afternoon.